Okay, everybody, I'm going to go over the first case, which is about the Yes. It's actually a new case that has emerged in the last couple of years. It's an app that was being developed to capitalize on the fact that Amazon and other virtual malls did not specialize. And the concept was to take advantage of branding in the apparel industry. So the case is called the Yes, Reimagining the Future of E-commerce with Artificial Intelligence. So I'm going to try to go over the salient concepts in this case. I'm trying to walk through the I'm not going to try to read the case to you here. You can read the case. I'm afraid if you don't read the case, you're going to miss some important details. So let me take this time to encourage you to do that. But I'm going to go over some major concepts. The Yes is a multi-brand shopping app launched in May 2020. So this is a very recent case. The Yes offered a new type of buying experience for women's fashion, driven by a sophisticated algorithm that used data science and machine learning to create and deliver a personalized store for every shopper based on her style, preferences, size, and budget. When a woman downloaded the Yes app, she embarked upon an interactive shopping journey that leveraged a fun, easy, gamified user experience. And you will see this in the case as the acronym UX, user experience. The gamified user experience in the Yes was reminiscent of dating apps to collect a stream of data that was then used to dynamically curate an ever-changing product assortment, personalized just for the user, usually a female. Artificial intelligence and machine learning technology were finally able to deliver the personalized experience the Yes's founder, Julie Bornstein, had envisioned 20 years earlier, a perfect curation of offerings in a unique, dynamically changing store designed around each individual shopper. Now that the Yes had moved beyond the beta stage and the company was engaging with real users, the team had data from initial customers to decipher. As they pored over the data, they searched for clues to how they could assess and optimize product market fit going forward. Two customer types had emerged: the fashionista and the fashion follower. Which type of woman was a better customer target for the Yes? And how could that choice inform further platform development? Before turning on significant levels of media to begin scaling the business through paid customer acquisition, Bornstein wanted proof that the user experience, or UX, and the algorithm were working well enough to deliver on the company's customer value proposition. Her co-founder and CTO, or Chief Technology Officer, Amit Agarwal, was more impatient and was advocating for paid media investment sooner rather than later in order to bring lots of users into the app to feed the algorithm the data it needed to learn and improve its performance over time. And that's very interesting. They're interested in organizational learning in this digital ecosystem. So what they do is they have a company that is really not based on a storefront, but it's based in a network of people who download their technology, and they acquire software components from other companies through the network to upgrade their software. So this case is about design choices that they are making in this digital ecosystem. Is this a potentially fruitful area? Well, Apple, Amazon, Alphabet, the owner of Google, these are trillion-dollar companies. And yes, there's a tremendous amount of wealth being created in this digital ecosystem. Every time you download a song from iTunes, that is in this digital ecosystem that I'm talking about. And it's easy to do so. You just go and purchase it. And this is how we can also download and use software components to upgrade our products. So back to the case. Several ideas for further monetizing the platform were on the table, including the development of social shopping features to make the shopping experience more viral, the design of an influencer program to bring fashion influencer voices into the platform, and the construction of a customer loyalty program. Should the Yes invest in improving the algorithm, enhancing the user experience with new functionality, or on customer acquisition? Both of these they would do through the digital ecosystem. So you could go and upgrade your software with digital components that are available, or you can invest in digital mediated advertising. So we're going to talk about 4 epistemological spaces. One is monetization. We'll talk about monetization, space 1. This space serves 2 main goals: learning about monetization strategies and uncovering the Yes's challenges and opportunities. By asking the question about monetization and probing you to explain the value that the Yes provides, to whom, and therefore how the company should monetize its business model to be able to extract some of that value in the form of operating profits, you are challenged to clarify the Yes's customer value proposition. During this epistemological space, you may find it useful to organize thinking using 3 smaller concepts. The major one is monetization strategy. And this is how we get paid. How does our company get paid? How does our revenue come in? What triggers new revenue? How complex should our strategy be? And 2 more minor concepts for the Yes is the company's evaluation. In other words, what is its value? And finally is how are we going to exploit its ecosystem for these purposes? It's important to remember that the Yes already has a substantial monetization strategy. Brands pay them 25% of each transaction that happens on the platform. Is there even a need for additional revenue streams? If we add revenue streams, does this become something that's unmanageable? Are they realistic? Can we operationally achieve these new revenue streams? Can you think of additional monetization plans for the Yes beyond what is discussed in the case? And also, especially beyond being a traditional retailer that subsists on brick and mortar retailer margins, or 2-sided marketplaces, or even a B2B platform, perhaps earning the company a higher valuation. Caution that all of the monetization schemes increase the complexity of the business, a significant concern for an under-resourced startup like the Yes, and this is very common for new apps. And some of the monetization schemes may jeopardize the company's ability to sustain its 25% commission on sales. Other strategies may be a data play, where the Yes sells its data regarding customer preferences and consumers' engagement to brands. The Yes should perhaps pursue any of the additional revenue stream options and instead focus on driving more organic growth by improving the app or adding more social aspects to it. Is there really a win-win-win here for all 3 members of the ecosystem, the Yes, the brands, and the consumers, to raise the specter of free riding risk by consumers who are acquiring the Yes, but who then buy directly from brands or from another retailer altogether? Think about the Yes's ecosystem and the different monetization options. On paper, you can draw out a map of how they will get paid. The discussion can be summarized by the following ideas. First, the Yes creates the highest value around the search discovery activity for both consumers and for brands. Some may argue they also create value around payment, since it is aggregated in one click instead of forcing consumers to individual brand websites. Second, the current monetization strategy, where the only point in which the Yes captures any value is if transactions are completed, is risky it allows for potential leakage in another entity, brands or retailers, to capture the value the yes created through paid customer acquisition and its superior user experience. Third, several of the monetization options introduce ways to capture value during the search discovery experience, a strong value creation opportunity. For example, advertising or influencer marketing to drive consumers to the yes can capture value. However, these options erode the value created, thereby potentially jeopardizing the value proposition of the brand. Out of all the mentioned options, the ones that do not erode the search discovery activity are the peer-to-peer referral program and the white labeling for brands. So if search and discovery is really, really important, we don't want to adopt strategies that erode that. To solve the issue described in number 2 above, or about current monetization strategies, and without risking the third point about the other options and the core competence of search discovery, the yes should A, focus on strategies that monetize value creation activities, but do not erode value to consumers and or to brands, or B, make the link between search discovery and buy stronger by making the process seamless and cultivating consumer trust. These ideas are related, but somewhat different than the concept of decoupling proposed by researcher Thales Teixeira. The definition of decoupling is the breaking of the links between customer activities by a digital player that have traditionally been provided together. As an example, consider a value creation chain as described in Exhibit 2 in your case. Traditionally, once the consumer recognizes a need, like a need to buy a new outfit, they would go to a store and perform the next two functions in the store: search for a different item and discover the current assortment in the store, see the patterns and colors, touch the fabrics, try on products, talk to sales associates and learn from them, and then buy in the store and receive the item immediately upon purchase. Online-only retailers, such as Amazon in its early days, decoupled the buying activity from this value chain. A customer may still go to a store to do the search and discovery. However, they can then easily perform the activity of buying online and are often incentivized to do so due to lower prices online. Teixeira notes that today's most dangerous disruptors are not just stealing customers, but rather stealing customer activities from established companies. The danger is that the value creating activities that offer consumers the ability to walk into the store, touch, feel, and try on are costly and still performed by the traditional retailer. But the only value capturing activity, purchasing the products, is then done elsewhere. The traditional player thus exerts effort and performs costly activities, but is at risk for not getting paid and being able to capture that value. Meanwhile, the new players free ride on the services offered by traditional players while collecting all the upside. Teixeira's recommendations for the traditional retailers is either to capture value also in the value creating activities or rebalancing the activities, or strengthen the links between the activities, recoupling, such that consumers will not perform those activities elsewhere. One difference from decoupling in this case is that the company at risk of being decoupled is the yes, a new digital startup, while the risk of disruption comes from incumbents and more traditional players such as offline and online retailers and the brands themselves, and not by a new digital startup. However, the solutions to the yes's dilemmas may be similar in essence to the ones proposed by decoupling, either figuring out ways to capture additional value in the value creating activities without eroding the core value creation activity, or alternatively, by strengthening the links between the existing customer value activities. Specifically here, it would be between search and discovery and buying. This may be difficult to do unless a firm sells an exclusive product, for example, which is not the case with the Yes. One way to try to improve the linkage is to ensure trust, train consumers on low pricing, and to make payment easy and seamless compared to the alternative of having to find a product elsewhere. Now, a minute ago, I mentioned training users and consumers on low pricing. What does that mean? That means lowering prices to certain items to get people to buy something on your app, and you're in effect funding the training of users so that they will buy later. They will know how to use your app. Motivated by lower pricing. Note that cultivating trust in the platform and educating consumers through lower prices is beneficial for them to complete their journey on the Yes may be challenging. Given the way consumers are used to shopping online, finding the product they want, and then searching for a deal, the Yes would have to train them to shop differently and on an app. The fact that it is an app and not a website may be useful here, as it may reduce browsing because consumers would have to check multiple apps or websites or use multiple devices to complete the checkout elsewhere. The second space of discussion is target market selection. This space focuses on the Yes's target market selection and decisions regarding, looking at users and seeing how they're different and making judgments on who is most valuable. The case introduces two potential targets, the fashionistas and the fashion followers. Since these two markets are different in many important ways, the Yes may need to decide who to prioritize as they decide on their marketing actions, monetization strategy, and app development. As the case on page 10 states, these are the main differences between the two potential targets. Students should note that target markets differ by desired attributes. Weighting of the attributes, for example, beliefs about whether the Yes's personalization engine is good or not. So weighting in these attributes such as price sensitivity and purchase journeys will affect its value. Fashionistas are often viewed as the tougher to please target market. They also note that it is a smaller segment compared to the fashion followers, but that each consumer in this segment has a higher potential average spend and profitability. Conversely, students view the fashion followers, you may view fashion followers as highly affected by social networks and a potential volume and viral play for the Yes. Based on these characteristics, many conjecture that if the Yes wants to grow quickly, then they should focus on the fashion followers. To do this, they recommend that the Yes focus on social tactics, including influencer marketing, so they have the necessary authorities, a peer-to-peer referral program for the social aspect, and that in terms of app development, the Yes should focus on social capabilities, such as abilities to share Yes lists and to follow others. If instead the Yes goes after the fashionistas, perhaps they need to improve their algorithms to better understand the tastes and preferences of this very particular segment. Note that the two targets are not independent of each other, and that the fashion followers potentially need the fashionistas to adopt the app first, so that they have authoritative figures to look up to. It's kind of like, what are the most popular songs out there? You may select the most popular songs off of the cloud rather than listening to a whole lot of them, and you just kind of trust the more musically inclined to sort that out first. In that sense, there are network effects here. The more fashionistas on the app, the more fashion followers join. The more fashion followers on the app, additional fashion followers join. What is less clear, however, is whether fashionistas need the app to be exclusive to them. In other words, the more fashion followers who appear on the app, the less interested fashionistas may be, because then they perceive the Yes as a tool for less sophisticated users. Or whether fashionistas will join the app regardless of the number and types of other users, just as long as its recommendations are indeed personalized and exclusive so that it is beneficial to them. This introduces the concept of customer contamination. When there are negative externalities across customers, and customer contagion when there are positive externalities across customers. This discussion also introduces the necessity of choosing a target market. Given the differences between the two segments, it would be difficult for the Yes, given its resource constraints, to target both types of consumers, given that each consumer requires a different product, user experience, merchandise, and other marketing strategies. Startups like the Yes often make the mistake of assuming they can target heterogeneous customer segments as they try to maximize early growth. The choice of a target market and the resulting marketing strategies that result from that choice optimize value creation for the prospective customers. Only when customer segments are homogeneous on important dimensions can a company target everyone successfully. Your customers must be very, very similar to do that. Do you believe customer acquisition costs, referred to as CAC in your case, are equal across the two target markets? While full quantitative numbers are not given in the case, you can make some qualitative assessments that, given the characteristics of fashionistas, it is plausible that they are more costly to acquire. Since we do not have credible information about customer retention, as the app is still very young, and thus any statistics we are receiving are noisy and volatile because of small sample size, we can assume for simplicity that customers will only purchase once. Additionally, we can assume that as an initial test, a customer buys a top in the lower end of their spending range. In other words, a fashionista would buy a top for $250 and a fashion follower for $75. In that case, the Yes should be willing to spend the difference in spend times the commission that they would receive on purchases. In other words, 25% commission times $250 minus the 75. So what is the difference between the two user groups? This affects how much they should spend. And that would be $43.75 to acquire a fashionista compared to what they would be willing to spend for a fashion follower. Let's assume that they cost the same to acquire. Will you add another fashion follower or another fashionista? On the surface, it seems like they would want to acquire a fashionista since their expected incremental revenue is higher. However, a fashion follower may have more impact on future revenues. For example, if she likes the app, she may convince her friends to join. If she also rates the app positively, she may draw strangers to download the app as well. This discussion reinforces the importance of considering customer social value, or the value that a customer brings to a company due to their influence on others when calculating a customer's lifetime value, or CLV, which calculate only the direct value a customer provides to a company while ignoring their indirect value. Will underestimate any effects of customer virality. The Yes does not necessarily have to choose one at this point, but serving both will pull the company in divergent directions as it decides how to invest their limited engineering, customer experience, and marketing resources. And it's important to note that the customer experience is inherently related to the design, the R&D that they put into their application. This is what this whole thing is about, is the design of their app and where to put their money. The third epistemological space is marketing investment in digital marketing. This space examines two fundamental questions related to digital marketing spending. A, to understand the trade-off between investing more in engineering and further product development versus in customer acquisition investments in the context of a new product launch, in this case, a data-driven machine learning app that will naturally improve its performance with the more customer data it is fed. And B, to analyze the initial digital marketing spending results and internalize the difficulties of making sense of very early data. The first question is often at play and gets to the heart of the discussion of whether and when a new product design is ready to launch, which ponders whether a product is good enough to capture consumers' attention or lowering customer acquisition costs, CAC, and strong enough performance-wise to drive retention and positive word of mouth. Many companies launch products in beta mode, knowing that product improvements will be coming 6 months to several years later. Let's take a step back and try to decide if the yes should continue developing and optimizing the app first or begin to aggressively acquire more customers. Specifically, should Bornstein and Agarwal invest in improving the algorithm's performance to improve customer satisfaction before they begin pouring money into paid media? Or are they ready to turn up the dial on paid media investment and aggressive customer acquisition programs? Note that some of the strategic arguments on why to continue developing the app versus acquiring more users are mentioned in the case. While Bornstein's perspective was to first perfect the app and improve the shopping experience, Agarwal was pushing to acquire more customers to improve the algorithms and the app's design and user experience through more data on preferences and actual user journeys. Look at these quotes from the case that support each side of the argument. On page 1, look at this one. Before investing significant levels of paid media to acquire customers, Bornstein was searching for proof that the user experience and personalization algorithm were working sufficiently well enough to deliver on the customer value proposition. Agarwal was advocating for paid media investment sooner to bring more users in so the algorithm could learn and improve its performance. A quote from page 12. She, Bornstein, worried that if the app's user experience and algorithm's predictive ability were not good enough, then the yes risk disappointing early adopters and jeopardizing future growth if paid media brought users in too quickly. She also worried about backlash on social media from dissatisfied customers or negative press that might result if the algorithm would not sufficiently predict users' fashion preferences with enough specificity. This is the kind of things that CEOs and CTOs talk about when designing products for you in this digital ecosystem. Also, page 13, Agarwal was less concerned. I think that early adopters expect products to have issues at first. What gets them back is not that you have the perfect product, but the fact that you're really improving it. Part of the definition of product market fit is that even with the imperfect product, you're solving a problem that makes users want to come back. That's interesting. Have you ever thought about going back and using an app or a game over and over again because you know they're improving it? They're improving the interface and they're going to improve it. That's really interesting. Makes you feel like attention is being paid to you. I guess it keeps the application lively. These quotes establish the parameters of the philosophical debate that many companies have at the pre-launch phase of their development. While you may have different points of views on the issue, with some aligning with Bornstein and others aligning with Agarwal, page 13 of the case provides a more concrete consideration. There is a $5 million investment on the table. One option is to invest in further app development that would improve the predictive power of the algorithm by 30%. which would be improves app satisfaction and thus improves sales conversion by 40% and reduce customer churn by 30%. On the other hand, the $5 million could be invested in paid media, assuming the $100 blended customer acquisition cost mentioned in the case on page 12 is an appropriate proxy for customer acquisition cost. $5 million would translate into 50,000 additional users, top of funnel app adoptions. Note this compares to the 30,000 users acquired by August 2020. You'll see that on page 11 of the case. Which of the two options should the $5 million be invested? That was the question. One way to organize the $5 million investment decision discussion is sketching the potential value of the app for each of the options and trying to understand the trajectory of value for each option. Generally, more data points should improve the algorithm, but there should be an inflection point where there are diminishing returns to data. There are three important dimensions to consider when thinking about the value of more data. N is the number of users we can observe. T is the number of time points we observe per user. That's interesting because once a user joins, then their time starts rolling. And J is the number of different behaviors and activities we observe. Here, we are mainly concerned with N, or the number of users, the growth in the number of users. A more subtle point is that not all users are created equal, and that the yes wants to get the right type of customers for this time in the product lifecycle. Those that Agarwal refers to as the early adopters for whom the yes solves a problem. Thinking back to the target market choice from the previous pasture, perhaps we are looking for a specific type of fashionista or fashion follower that believes the app is most useful for them. Thinking back to some of the monetization strategies we debated earlier, it may be too early to employ those strategies that are designed to bring a large number of customers in while the yes continues to develop the app and the algorithm and is still assessing product market fit. Establishing product market fit is an important inflection point in the life of a new company. Until managers feel secure that it has been attained, it is dangerous and inefficient to pour resources into aggressive customer acquisition. If customers are acquired before product market fit is established, the company risks creating dissatisfied customers who will churn at high levels, spread negative word of mouth, and create customer service problems. These actions jeopardize the future development of the customer portfolio and may spook investors and other partners that the company is relying on to help them scale. What does paid marketing mean for the yes at this point in time? The case suggests measuring the effectiveness and return on investment, or ROI, of early performance marketing is tricky because the company is still learning about its target market and is still evaluating and optimizing its product market fit. Exhibits 13 and 14 of the case provide insight into how paid marketing has contributed thus far to the company. All right. Epistemological space number 4. This case stimulates discussion about the future of e-commerce, given the advances in AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning. To assess the impact of yes on the future of retail, is the yes offering a real revolution or merely an evolution of how e-commerce operated to date? It may be useful to compare what the yes is offering to existing popular e-commerce retailers and platforms. What is truly innovative about the yes is the ability to create a unique store for each customer based on her preferences and needs. The integration with brands and providing brands a platform to connect with consumers are also valuable, especially since the yes is so focused on one specific vertical compared to, say, Instagram or Amazon that have every possible product category. The question is whether these are sustainable differentiators and whether companies such as Instagram or Amazon would be able or want to produce a similar experience for customers on their platforms. How evolutionary or revolutionary the Yes is relates to user experience differences between the Yes and other competitors such as Amazon and Instagram. E-commerce is likely to change in the future using the Yes as an early indicator of things to come. E-commerce of the future is likely to be more personalized and customized for individual customers, gamified and fun to shop. E-commerce of the future is likely to be data smart and continuously improving as new data comes into the system, time saving and convenient, eliminating the need to scroll through pages of irrelevant items, more customer centric and less focused on serving up items driven by brands' promotional support and paid advertising search. Do you think the future of e-commerce includes more companies like the Yes, which specialize in a particular vertical merchandise, for example, fashion, and provide the best customized user experience for that vertical? In other words, leveraging fashion industry knowledge and an in-depth study of fashion shoppers' consumer behavior? Or will it continue to be dominated by companies like Amazon that offer one-stop shopping across a wide array of diverse merchandise verticals? In the real world, there is hope for specialization. We see specialty stores survive today, but in the virtual space, is that going to happen? Is it reasonable? Situating this debate within the setting of fashion is interesting because although Amazon has become the top seller of apparel in the US, it has repeatedly failed to establish a significant foothold in luxury apparel, a setting where the shopping experience contributes heavily to the value of the product to the customer. Placing this discussion in a broader historical context, consider the offline retail transformation from the general store, which sold everything a household would desire, to specialty retail, which specialized in a particular merchandise vertical and offered multi-brands, to brand flagship retail, which offered only the products or one brand, but offered a branded experience and retailtainment to build brand equity. You can debate whether this type of transformation is coming in e-commerce, as well as the conditions, consumer, product, shopping, experience, brand, under which each type of retail experience is preferable to customers. Finally, it may be useful to consider also the future of physical retail in this context. In recent years, we have seen two important trends. One is that of omni-channel retailing, and another is physical retail transforming into experiential retail, where physical locations find new ways to delight and excite customers. Musing on the future of retail, we may expect to see more integrations between online and offline experiences and utilization of new technologies such as virtual reality and artificial reality that are likely to transform retail yet again. Potential takeaways from the case include these 7 points. First, while new technologies and social shopping trends allow more ways than ever to monetize a product or service, this should be done carefully. A particular concern is value erosion of the activity as a negative spillover of monetization. Sketching out the customer value chain and understanding which activities create, capture, or erode value helps identify and address the concern. Second, assessing and optimizing product market fit based on early customer feedback and insights allow firms to refine a customer value proposition and target market selection to guide scaling strategy, scaling being size, your strategy for growing, and further product service development. Third, the value of algorithms and data increases when more customers are observed and when more customer activities are observed. However, these improvements typically have an inflection point where the returns to additional data are diminishing. Algorithm development may increase the value for a given number of customers or even change the trajectory of the created value. Fourth, early market results may allow us to test some initial hypotheses, but the generalizability of these to future customers is complex, especially when firms are still evaluating and developing product market fit. Next, adoption metrics such as number of installs, costs per install, and early app engagement metrics may be misleading and not indicative of future sales. Firms must continuously test and learn the behavior of their customer base and identify relevant and impactful key performance indicators that are good predictors of retention and transactions. These metrics can also guide them in optimization rules for future marketing campaigns. It is important to understand the opportunities of AI and ML, or machine learning, for retailing and identifying ways that these technologies can create new retail opportunities and drive changes in the shopping experiences of consumers. The future of e-commerce retailing will be more customer-centric and driven by individual-level customer data on preferences and shopping behaviors. New technologies empowered by AI, such as VR and AR, will create many opportunities for brands and consumers. Still, physical stores and offline retailers will be an important part of the shopping experience, and the integration of new technologies in the offline space may yield interesting innovations. What's going to happen from all this? What are we going to do after all of this? We're going to learn. We're going to spawn new innovations. So what happened? 4 points. First, the Yes continued to invest in algorithm and app development. In other words, they started to really target the fashionistas because they wanted it to be a nicer experience to use rather than focusing on a more broad category. The second point is they also built a website because it is difficult and expensive to encourage consumers to download and start using an app they do not know. Consumers exhibit app fatigue, and forcing them to download an app adds friction into the adoption process. The current version of the website points to the app for the Yes quizzes and personalization opportunities, but allows access to a catalog of brands and products on a website. They continue testing the website to figure out a minimal onboarding process that will allow users to realize value and entice them to download the app and convert into an app user. Thus, the Yes is jointly pursuing a multi-step onboarding process for some consumers, from web to app, and a single-step onboarding process for others, straight to app. Third, they invested in social commerce aspects. Users can now follow friends' Yes lists, partnerships with fashion tastemakers in the Yes's Instagram accounts, takeover campaigns, and customer referral programs. Finally, they continue to onboard new brand partners. And that's what I have to say about the basic concepts of this case. What's interesting is I've been talking, and there very well could be some people out there on Zoom. Let me go look. And there's not, but that's okay. So I'm done with the case. Again, my cell number is on the syllabus. I am one text away. Don't feel isolated. If you want to call me, you can do that. I will try to answer. Texting is a great way to set up a phone call. Anyway, email me. Let me know if you would like to set up a time to talk or anything. So hope you're learning from this case. Just learn as much as you possibly can. These cases are abstract. There is some ambiguity involved. There's no doubt about it. That's just a part of case studies. That's just a part of this type of instruction and learning. So, I hope you find these cases interesting. Usually they're very popular. And this one is a very modern case. All of ours are. All of ours were written since last year. They're all very recent. Anyway, let me know if I can help you. Thank you. Bye-bye.